If you have this problem with your Toyota Rav4 after brake replacement, well, today I'm going to show you how to fix this problem. Let's go ahead and take this wheel off and I'll show you closer what's going on. So I've been dealing with the squeaking problem for about a year now. I took rear brakes twice apart. I couldn't find what was the problem. I cleaned them, I put them back. A couple of weeks later they start squeaking again. So I just kind of let it go. I know the brakes is good, brake pads is good, everything is good, everything works. And now I finally find out what actually the problem were. Apparently when I originally replaced these brakes, the hardware kit that was included with these brakes are not designed for Toyota Rav4 calipers. And apparently the clearance right here where your actually rotors goes, it's just not big enough. Let me go and take all this apart and I can show you much closer what I'm talking about. And you can also use this video in reference to replacing rear brake pads. So let's go ahead and take this apart. It's actually really easy. And to replace your rotor, I mean, as soon as you take this off, you remove this bracket and you can just pull entire rotor. By the way, the rotor was also replaced about a year ago when I replaced my brakes. Safety first, so don't forget to place your jacks on round and support your vehicle. And at this point you can inspect your brake pads, and as you see, they're not bad at all. I mean, I replaced them about a year ago and I have probably 60-70% left. Just make sure you clean this groove right here before you put these back together, or like I said, you can use this video as a reference of a rear brake replacement. So just go ahead and place your new one. And these clips, that's what I'm talking about, make all these noise. Let me go ahead and take it to my desk and I'll show it to you much closer. Okay, our hardware, let me show you what the problem with the hardwares on these Toyota Rav4s. So apparently there are two different sizes and I didn't knew about it when I installed my brakes about a year ago. Brakes came with these hardware already, so I just put them on. I took it apart a couple of times, as I said earlier, and couldn't fix it. Couldn't find a problem. What was wrong with it? I put them back. Works for 2-3 weeks, and this noise coming back. But the noise only comes when I'm backing up, so I wasn't really worried about it. It wasn't really getting my nerves. Only when I'm backing up, everybody hearing around my block that I'm leaving my driveway, I guess. So it's time for replace, and I bought these right here. They came from AutoZone, and let me show you where actually the difference. Okay, so I have my caliper right here set to 0 at millimeters, and this is hardware that came with the brakes. And we have here 13. I mean, let's do it 13 and a half. Okay, it's about 13 and a half. Okay, 13 and a half. This one is going to be bigger. That's the problem. And this one is 15. So I know 1.5 millimeter, it's not a lot, but I guess it makes a big difference. What happens when your rotor constantly turning, the dust from the brakes building up over here, and every time when you backing up, I guess the dust going in the reverse, getting stuck at a certain place and creating that weird scratching noise. So let's go ahead and put this on, and let's see how they work. It should not give me the issue anymore. Okay, first, when you're changing your brakes, make sure this pin right here moves really good, really freely. and if it's necessary, pull out, clean it, and replace the lubrication. As you see, it's not bad at all. It actually looks really good because I replaced it about a year ago. And if I'm not mistaken, the last time I touched this trying to fix this problem, I did re-lube these pins again. So there is nothing wrong with them at all. They're perfectly good. And before installation our hardware, let's go ahead and clean this part right here. Make sure you wear like a dust mask or something like that, because breathing the dust from brakes is actually not that good and really harmful. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this rotor part right here as well, just so it looks much better. Could be some dust on your caliper as well, and some dirt also too, right there in your cylinder. There's actually some rust also too, but it's not a big deal. Just clean this part right here really good. Okay, with your brush, you clean this right here too. Oh, that's a lot of dust. That's why you need to wear a mask when you do this. Safety first. And we can rub just here a little bit, to get rid of these extra pieces, and clean with the brake part cleaner again. If your hardware looks like it's loose a little bit, it's not a big deal. You can pull this hardware off and bend these pieces just like that, just to give extra spring, and just simply install it back. Here we go. But they're not going anywhere when your brake caliper will be installed. You can go ahead and lubricate. Make sure you do not miss this step. I'm using this type of brake lubricant as always, and just basically you lube this part right here. Make sure you do not get it on your rotor. Don't have to be a lot, don't overdo it, just a little bit. Put it there as well. Here we go. If it's get a little bit on the rotor, don't freak out, it's not a big deal. It will actually burn out while you're braking, so it's not going to do anything. So you see I got it right there a little bit, it's not a big deal. Now my old brake pads, I'm going to be installing my old brake pads. As I said, I'm just going to be installing them exactly the same way how they were. So this one right here at the front, and the one that have a scratch from the cylinder, I'm going to be putting in the back. But the only thing that was missing on my brake pads, if you notice it, is these little things. For some reason I never got them in my brake pads, and I just didn't really care about them, because I always care about my car. I looked at my car, always check my brakes, so I will definitely knew when they will wear out before they will be grinding metal on metal. But just for safety, I'm just gonna go ahead and put them on since I have them in that kit. Now I do not lubricate brake pads at all. I never did, and there is a theory behind this, because you want your brake pads to glue to your brake caliper. Okay, you don't want it to be moving around over time. It will kind of glue to your cylinder and right here to your caliper, and when you release your brake pad, your caliper will move slightly away and will pull your brake pads away from the rotor more, and they will not going to be sitting on your rotor while your brake pads release. So just for this reason, I never lubricate these parts. I just kind of leave them like that. And basically this is it. Let's go ahead, put it on and install this brake pads. If you have new brake pads, just install new brake pads. Just make sure you don't bend these leaps. Unfortunately I did. I had to go back and redo the job, but it's actually not a big deal. Unless they're touching the rotor, then you're gonna have a scratchy noise again. Now if you have new brake pads, obviously you're going to press the cylinder, and just for the heck of it, let me go ahead and do this right quick. You can use a set of tools like this and rent it from your local auto store, but it's really basic here, and I'm just going to be using my caliper like this, nothing crazy. And we're just going to squeeze this cylinder. I do not need to do it, just like I said, but just for the video and for new installation, if you're replacing your brake pads, you have to do this. Very easy to squeeze it. By the way, before doing this, make sure you open your master cylinder reservoir cap. I keep getting this rust all the way from the cylinder, and this is not good, but it is what it is. I'm just gonna get it out. If you have same problem, make sure you get some of the rust out. Now we're ready to install our brake caliper. Very simple. Just do all this job backwards. Okay, now this is it. Let's go ahead and install wheel and do the same thing on other side. Okay, it's finally all done. There is no more noise, and I noticed there is actually some coming from the front now, probably the same problem. So I will be making a whole another video how to do a front brake replacement on Toyota Rav4, and there is some footage after replacement. Also, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll be glad to answer.